Well, actually, I think it starts off with chugging a gallon of milk.
No, they do the gallon.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, they announce his candidacy publicly at the lunch table, and then they say, and
as is customary, when anybody runs for office, they have to drink a gallon of milk in less than 3 minutes.
Oh, God.
He's like,
and Shelby's like, I feel like this is physically like not going to work out at all. I feel like stomachs aren't made for drinking an entire gallon of milk in under 3 minutes. Something about, regurgitation and all that jazz. And then Ezra's like, can it? And then, starts drinking.
My name is Nate.
I'm Mike.
I'm Stacy.
And I'm Diego.
And what the hell was that?
And what the hell was that?
I know what the hell that was.
That was a lot.
I'm not quite sure what that was.
So, I haven't quite thought of this myself yet. I should have taken all that time that we had to think of this, but alas, I did not. If you had to describe that film in just a short phrase, couple words, how would you all do that?
Well, let's start with Stacy, frankly, because this is the first ever official suggested movie where someone said, "Hey, we should do this movie." And so, as the advocate and active suggester of this film for us to witness here tonight, tell us in a couple of words what encapsulates the energy.
Guest.
Yeah, it's
episode.
true. For people, I hope it doesn't get cluttered. I think we all know how to speak to each other without talking over all the time. Maybe
You invited the worst two people for that.
That's fair. Perhaps.
No offense to us.
I barely said anything.
But no, please tell us.
Words about this movie. Brief?
Yeah.
Like a phrase?
Yeah, like a phrase, couple words, just like off the dome encapsulation of it.
Archetype of an archetype.
Proto-meme?
Proto-meme, I like it. I'm going, high school is hard.
I'm going to say really pointless, I guess.
Yeah.
That, I think, summarizes the whole thing really well, actually.
Yeah, it's just like...
That is why I love it so much.
Yeah, no,
God.
It was an interesting and fun watch. It's definitely like a very ideal movie to sit around with some friends and be like, wow, what is going on?
What the hell was that?
What the hell was that?
I really wish they just leaned really hard into hormone symbolism.
Or any symbolism.
Yeah.
I wish they leaned really hard into any of the 10 plot lines.
I think if they just stuck with the surrealism of it all, it could have been a really neat art film.
Yeah, well...
I'm going to maintain that Lucas Grabeel goes on to this is a prequel. This is a High School Musical prequel. I'm quite positive of that.
I do like that as a
finishing
headcanon.
the movie, and now I need to correct myself. So before we watched this, I was like, yeah, this was definitely before High School Musical. No, this was released 2 years after High School Musical.
That's interesting. I never would have guessed that.
So this was a side hustle while filming the best High School Musical, High School Musical 2.
They probably thought that this was going to be like the big break.
The next thing.
Who knows?
It's kind of funny because, how Daniel Radcliffe is, set for life from Harry Potter?
Yes.
And now he just, exclusively stars in just, weird shit that he thinks is fun.
I think he's in, a TV comedy thing right now.
But yeah, it's he can do whatever he wants. It's not, a matter of, got to pay those bills. He's set. It kind of feels like this was... the name of that actor who I don't know.
Lucas Grabeel.
Yeah, Lucas Grabeel. It felt like he was High School Musical 1. Oh, I'm set. And then jumped right into I'm doing weird stuff, but then it didn't quite pan out. And he's like, all right, High School Musical 2 and 3.
So,
you could say he really bopped to the top and back again.
Oh, that's a good one. That was his fucking song.
It was.
Diego and I actually sang that last week. But 2 questions on that.
Let's hear
One,
it.
less a question, more of a statement.
Okay.
Your previous statement implies that Lucas Grabeel was the decision maker on whether or not there would be a High School Musical 2 or 3.
That's fair. Yeah, that's.
And maybe you could be right. We do not have any other evidence.
Who knows?
Everyone's sitting around. We can't do it without Lucas.
Yeah, he's Ryan. He's the star of the show.
I maintain that every cast member of this movie was just someone's cousin.
Yeah.
I bet they
Like
had
the talent
aside
show.
from Lucas Grabeel, I'm pretty sure every
And that's
single
where all
person.
the money went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I maintain that Lucas Grabeel and I think the character of Shelby
Yeah.
were the only two characters that I was actors, I guess, that I've seen in something else.
Right.
And every single other person, I'm like, that's just the writer's niece, that's just right, that.
Yeah, that was
everybody
like
else
the
is just,
caterer's nephew.
Yeah, exactly.
Caterer's
Yeah,
nephew, I
exactly.
like
It's
that.
I just because I cannot. Everybody got too much screen time in things that were absolutely irrelevant to the irrelevant plot line.
Yeah, it's true.
I think one last note that I personally want to put forth before we try to start recapping the plot,
God
and
help
feel
us.
free for anybody else to put any further anecdotes in.
Which plot?
But what a stinky movie to film. There's just cold cuts everywhere.
The amount of scenes where it's like, do you smell pastrami?
Yeah.
They also make a comment that the amount of food that they probably threw out is
Yeah,
kind of
lot of
upsetting to think about.
waste, yeah.
Because imagine they were gonna be all right, bread scene, take 3, dude in the fucking
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah.
How many blades of wheat were cut down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lovingly harvested,
They should put
processed, baked, sent away with a kiss, only to be absolutely
Just ripped
destroyed,
open.
thrown in a bathroom sink, and then
Right.
tossed in the dumpster.
Yeah.
I think this is one instance in which I'm almost glad that machinery processes most food because at least no one's tears went into that bread.
Right.
I
The
don't.
tears of Mother Earth. Come on.
Yeah. I wish they had the stats at the end of the credits.
Yeah.
Just
That should be a staple in all movies.
Yeah, right.
Including meals, right? Like lunch
I like
breaks.
to think
it's
they had
just,
teams of production assistants ripping open bags of
Ooh.
Wonder Bread just constantly.
Congress, if
Yeah,
you're
do you think
listening,
they,
a good law would be to put in how many gallons of water were used at the end of every credit of anything ever.
Yeah.
It's 3,000 tons of water were used to create this podcast.
Yeah, right.
We're just going to do our best to string along the narrative of this.
Right.
Anybody at any point, feel free to hop in with tangents, corrections to
All right. So
things.
real quick, I just
Yeah.
want to start with the game for the plot. You are directing a film, a fun family film, about a high school student who maybe isn't doing too well in school at the current moment, maybe has a lot of things on their plate. And you think to yourself,
Plate.
well, I have to open in a familiar manner. And in many ways, I don't want the audience to be confused about exactly what kind of film this is. All right. How would you choose to establish your character and open the movie?
Well, that's obvious. Of course, I would have the character jump out of bed to a late alarm while the Click 5 or Fall Out Boy adjacent music
Yeah.
plays in the background.
It's got to be that mid-2000s pop punk.
Yeah, but would they
Absolutely.
brush their teeth hurriedly?
I mean, it
eyes
depends on
wide.
how much of a rush they're in.
I would note that to be relatable, you've still got to take time to brush your tongue.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Hey,
true. Yeah, you
Also,
gotta
of
go to the
course,
inside.
how would we really relate to this character unless they initially went back to sleep, only to then bolt up realizing that they're late
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
day of the test,
You're-
nonetheless.
Yeah, right. Was it the day of the test?
I think. I don't know.
I'm gonna say yeah.
What I love is that asshole teacher, as soon as Lucas Grabeel, Ezra, the character,
Sure.
runs. Also, when he's running in the hallway,
Oh, God,
this
yeah.
dude falls every few scenes.
Yeah.
He has a crash somewhere.
Yeah.
This is the first one that we have. Is he's barreling into school because he's shit, I'm fucking late, and he just crashes into some lockers, arms flailing,
Yeah.
and keeps moving.
Yeah, right.
I know this isn't the
At
case,
least-
but in my own headcanon, so when Hugh Jackman filmed Logan, in certain scenes, they had legitimate people holding him back with a rope to get the effect of him trying his hardest to get to somewhere.
Right.
I just like to imagine in my head they had people just tripping him with wires and stuff.
Lucas
Yeah.
Grabeel, booby trapped.
I'd
Cut
really
and
like to get a
post.
copy of the manuscript and just see
Uh-huh.
in writing, right?
Right.
Trips.
Yeah.
Just
Every other.
How many
line.
times is that planned? I maintain that mustard scene was not.
Right.
There's
So-
no way that wasn't. Anyway,
We'll get to the mustard. So
Even
then
more magical in the commentary. They're just we didn't write a single time for him to trip. I don't
keep
know.
in mind,
We didn't write
Ezra does
anything for
not-
this film. Actually, we just gave him.
keep in mind, Ezra does not take time to grab breakfast at the start of the movie.
Yeah, well, he doesn't care too much about food, I don't think.
That becomes evident later on.
So he falls in the hallway. He's running late to school. He gets into the classroom. The first scene we see inside the classroom is in huge letters on the chalkboard. Quiet. And then this like teacher who is clearly like seething while simultaneously like really like in a disturbed way, like filled with this like joy at watching the suffering of these teens.
Frankly, this teacher seemed more like a student than any of the students did. Like, at least in terms of attitude, at least for me.
You're totally
I was just a ball of rage. And this teacher, I resonated with him more than I did with any other teacher.
Yeah, he just graduated and stayed there.
Yeah. Well, frankly, so did like half the cast.
Yeah, right. That's why like the leads like the popular kids seem so old because they're just held back a couple years. Like it's like canon.
You're saying I'm gonna peak in high school?
That a couple times.
Never leaving high school.
I'm staying here.
I'll hang out.
Can never come down, baby. But yeah, so then we're introduced to Lucas's class and his teacher and his Ezra's Lucas. We're introduced to Ezra's class and the teacher, and we see all of his classmates who are definitely not teenagers.
But they're all donned. Let me just say, whoever did the costuming for this movie, spot fucking on. They're donned in like the perfect 2008, like not labeled.
Well, honestly, that's
limited to like outfits.
That's true. Yeah, I would say even that there wasn't costuming and it was just like all right, just wear your everyday attire.
Make sure
2008
make sure to
people.
turn your shirt inside out if
Like,
there's a label on it.
It almost feels dated though. It feels like late 90s, early 2000s sensibility to me, as opposed to like 2008.
Well, I think
I'm not familiar
Maybe it's
enough
a
with
period
fashion
piece.
to.
Year of our Lord
it's a
Obama.
period piece.
From like 4 years ago. It'd be like if we showed up. You remember those like circular little collars that were like big in 2013? Remember like the hipster thing when people wore like infinity scarves and the Ray-Bans? It'd be like if we showed up with that, we'd be like, yeah, like 5 years ago. This is cool.
I think that 2008, the 2010s are interesting, right? Like, I don't really think the late 2000s had a style,
It's just
right?
because we're.
I think that there was really like.
We're still finding our footing.
Yeah, I think they were still finding their footing, and they didn't really get it until like 2012. Like,
You don't get styles in economic recessions, all right? That's how this goes.
You also don't
keep
get
rocking.
magical food.
You rock the silly bands for a couple more years.
I mean, I think part of that has to do with the fact that at least we were all like probably like elementary to middle school aged in like 2008.
2008.
Yeah, we were all
Yeah.
wearing the like, I hate homework. Video games are cool.
Not
My
me.
sister's an idiot shirt.
Yeah.
I don't roll my eyes at you. My sister's annoying.
Yeah.
I was wearing
I'm
WWE
100%
shirts.
awesome, 100% gamer, 100% Iron Man in disguise.
And I had a propeller hat that was just the height of fashion at the time.
Oh, I actually still have a propeller hat.
See? It sustains from 2008.
That's when it was invented.
Yeah.
Oh, so he rolls into
Yeah.
class.
Rolls into class.
Well, I was just gonna. He gets into class. It's immediately given. I think the first line from someone that isn't Ezra
Anyone,
is the teacher basically just telling him, "You're a piece of shit."
Fuck
late.
you.
Again.
Again.
And then he spits, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Lucas takes a seat behind. Ezra Lucas. Yeah, interchangeable.
Ezra Lucas.
So then Ezra takes a seat behind what can
You
only
did
be
the same
assumed.
thing with Paul Walker.
I don't know why I always do that. The viewer
You
will know who I'm
combine like
talking
the first
about.
name of the character with like the last name of the real actor, but now you're just doing the first name of Lucas. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Please stick
Yeah.
with it. It'll
Well,
become
I guess
your
that's
thing.
just a testament of how like unmemorable names were in this movie.
I think his
They all
his
felt
full name
really
was
fake.
Ezra Foodboy, right?
Yeah, of course.
Foodman.
Foodman.
So yeah, he takes a seat
Behind
and then,
the bully, no less. So then the bully just like spills water on him
Let me
or
just
something.
say, Ezra's the only kid in class with a reusable water bottle, mindful of all this waste.
Way ahead of
on our
its curve,
dying earth.
frankly.
Yeah.
You know, 2008 reusable water bottle.
Yeah,
Damn.
but
However-
the bully was like this nerd with his hand sanitizer and his reusable.
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah,
the
he
fucking
kinda
bit
called
they
his
kept
shot.
working on.
Yeah.
They literally were like, if you use hand sanitizer, you're fucking weird.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's-
here in the year of our pandemic, like they don't know how wrong they are.
That was
Can we
regular
start
lesson.
calling it that? The year of our pandemic, like in the year of our Lord.
Yeah, right. But the year of our pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm in.
cool. But yeah, so then he looks like he peed himself. And then he's like, Mr. Teacher, let me go to the bathroom, please. And the teacher's like, harumph, okay. Take the toilet
Okay,
hall
you
pass.
fucking-
Yeah, we get
Fucking
the
piss
wonderful
baby.
reveal of the hall pass, which is a toilet seat
Yeah.
that just says hall pass on it.
Seriously.
I like that though. That
Yeah.
feels kind of realistic. I feel like
Yeah.
that's some shit that some
That
schools
sounds
would
like
have.
more expression than
It
most
was-
schools I know would be
Yeah,
allowed to have.
It was a nice hark back to the hall pass clipboards and
Yeah, tell me
various
about it.
We
lanyards.
did not have those in high school.
No, would you just get up and go?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I think they stopped doing that when enough people stopped going to class.
I mean,
Yeah,
the thing
well.
is, they had cameras pointed at all the exits of schools that were live monitored.
That doesn't stop people.
No,
Yeah,
but
so-
it
so
did
did we.
because if you were absent more than if you were absent, no,
You
if
just
you
have
were
to be faster
absent
than
once,
the staff member.
if you were absent without like a call out from a parent or guardian, you would get like suspended.
That was what happened with us. But then it was an empty threat for our school because they
It seems it.
yeah, well they never wanted to lose their perfect graduation record.
So, well,
Because if you missed 18 days of school, you couldn't graduate, and I'm
the
pretty
fuck?
sure
Theoretically.
all of us.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all of us missed at least like
Yeah,
30 days of
easy.
school. So
Easy. I remember when they pulled up my absences, there was like a moment of like, huh. Like, I
like, wow,
didn't realize
when
it was
you
this bad.
quantify it like that.
Fun fact, I repeated the first grade because I missed like 54 days of school.
That sucks.
Wow.
is that why
Yeah.
you're like a little older for your age?
I'm
A little older.
for my age. Yeah, it's really strange.
You're a little old for.
I'm also just like I'm one of those birthdays where
Oh, like
like
a summer birthday.
yeah, so I'd be like the youngest in my grade if I was in the grade I was supposed to be in, but then I ended up being one of the oldest because of my birthday.
Yeah, I have a friend who
Nice.
just had a birthday, and I realized that she's in the grade below me. As of like 7 years ago, would have been in the grade below me. But I have a friend in my grade whose birthday is in like 5 days, who's also turning the same age, who was in the grade I was in.
Interesting.
Cause August.
It's
But-
wild.
So, yeah, no, we had like a clipboard sign out thing in middle school. In elementary school, it was straight up like a you
Free
raise
for
your
all.
hand, you gotta pee. You get like a hall pass, and then you go, and then you bring it back. You hang it up on the wall.
Right.
For middle school, it was a clipboard sign out with times.
Uh-huh.
And then if there was like vandalism, they'd be like, well, between this time and this time, these people in these rooms were out. So they would like,
Mm-hmm.
And then in high school, it was kind of like,
The
don't-
toilet seat.
it was like, don't raise your hand and interrupt my class. Just quietly get up and go, and don't take more than like 10 minutes, or I'm gonna like be on you in public about where the fuck you were.
So it wasn't a toilet seat?
No, I like would go to class I would go to the bathroom 2 times per class, one right at the beginning, one right at the end.
But yeah, so Pee Pants Ezra walks through the halls
Yeah.
and is like, oh man.
What a day.
And
Already.
then scene cuts to lunch, I guess. And
Well, I would like to note several times throughout the movie they do seem to imply that lunch happens very early in the day.
Yeah, well-
because
And
like
often.
later in the scene they say like this morning, love interest character Shelby wouldn't even look at Ezra, and then the next scene they do note that it's lunch, and it's also like the first thing in the day. Like
Right.
they get to school and they're eating lunch, so it's not infeasible that it's not a cut skip through
Yeah,
lunch.
yeah,
It's really
right.
just
It's just
that
like he's
lunch
leaving the
is
classroom
the second thing
to
you
go to
do in
lunch,
the
yeah.
day.
man, that'd
Yeah.
be something to show up late, go into class, and then like leave within 2 minutes and go straight to lunch.
Yeah. She's like, all right, you're late again. Go to second period, which of course is lunch, as we all
As
know.
you know. So then lunchtime, and we're introduced to the friend group.
Squad,
which
most of whom don't have like memorable names.
Yeah,
Right.
like there's Dylan.
There's Dylan, Joel.
Well, we only
Joel?
learned Joel from the credits.
That's true. I don't know if they
Notably-
actually said.
I think we heard his name once, because at the end they were like, and Joel's doing this now, because when she was like, everything's all different. But like it wasn't. We're like, who's Joel? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, thank God there's only 3 other people outside of Lucas, though, right?
I think so.
Ezra.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
so they're in their little
Hey, I
squad.
commit. That's what I
They're at
do.
their
I
little-
choose one or the other.
They're talking about the difference between nerds and geeks, a conversation I've had separately.
Right.
And then they do this thing where they're like betting money, but it's like pocket change.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
just,
like $1.25.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're kids. How
they're
much money did you have in high
squirting
school?
every like
$20.
As a junior, I had a job.
they're squirting
well, we're not
every
talking
like
about that.
condiment and like random lunch thing
I'm pretty
onto
sure
a
it
tray.
was yogurt, cranberries,
Sunny D.
Sunny D.
But with
Oh
the
no,
label and
knockoff
stuff.
Sunny D, which was not even knockoff.
We don't want to
It
get
was
demonetized
very clear.
here.
It was
Yeah.
very
Very
clear
clearly
that
Sunny
it
D.
was just with the label taken off,
Yeah.
and you know this because in the multiple times that not Sunny D was shown, there
was
was just
Solar
no
B.
label, but there was clearly, there's very clearly like
You can see the plastic.
rips. Yeah, you could see the
Yeah,
plastic. from the-
if you've ever ripped the label off of something, there's a bit of a residue like that remains from like where it was sealed originally,
the
and they
tray.
didn't
Yeah, no
even
matter
bother
how-
scraping that off.
yeah,
They just
no.
kept that
No
on
label, no problem.
which is honestly a great analogy for this movie.
there.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're betting money. They're like, Ezra, eat this. And
As if this is something he
No,
does
no, no, no.
regularly.
They're looking
Yeah.
for volunteers. So they
Oh,
put
are
all
they?
the money in,
Okay.
and once the money reaches a point, evidently someone's like, "I'll take this challenge."
You're right. You're
But
right.
Ezra's born to lead.
Like,
Which
this
they
is,
also
this
make
is the
clear
bit.
very early in the movie.
Yeah.
He's
Ezra
a
eats
leader.
weird shit but doesn't eat meals is what I've noticed. Like he only eats random assortments of gross shit. But
That's
he,
true. That is like the first like
When do you see him eat
3/3
anything
of the
else?
movie. 3/3. The
True.
entire movie. The entire movie. That is what
The
I'm
first
implying
one
here.
whole of the movie.
Look, it's
first
not until
movie.
High School Musical that we see him eat normal food.
Yeah, sure.
do we?
It's- I don't know. No,
He had oatmeal or something.
Most of the movie, his shtick, well, A, is related to food, but B, what else do you expect? It's the Adventures of Food Boy, but
True.
nonetheless, it seems that almost anything he does is related to him. Just like, and then I combined these random ingredients
Yeah.
and then ate it
Yeah.
or served it.
And I don't know if this was
Freak.
supposed to
Depending
be
on
like,
his character arc.
yeah, like maybe this was the mislead, like in the trailers, they're not like, he produces food, but like maybe like when you're going to the theater, you're like, all right, the Adventures of Food Boy, this could be anything. And then they're like, oh, he just like eats weird
Yeah,
combinations
it's like a
of
how to eat
food.
fried worms kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, that's
That's a
what
good
makes
movie,
him
I think.
Food Boy, not anything crazy or supernatural.
Psych.
But yeah, so he's eating this thing, and then Joel is like,
Really getting in it too.
don't puke or else we lose our money because, of course, the audience doesn't know that yet, so they have to establish the rules.
Yeah, they get their money back if he pukes.
There's a good bit of unnecessary exposition and then really hammering in that exposition. Like
Yeah.
a couple times where it's like, no, Dylan, you can't do that or else I can't become the captain of the golf team.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you're right. I guess at our next golf practice because I am also on the golf team. Like he decides that Garrett, the bully who we've been introduced to in one of the previous scenes, has gone too far
This time.
because he tripped a kid
He's been
in a really
no,
interesting fall.
He's been class president since the 6th grade.
For
Yeah.
the 10th year in a row.
That's a dictatorship.
And Ezra, noble as he is, decides to stand up to him and run for class president, and is promptly laughed by everybody.
I want to
Yeah.
correct that his motivation. I think like a nice little benefit of him wanting to run for class president is that he can be like there's a psychological thing where people will take whatever neutral action they do and like try to like think about themselves in the most positive light in that sense.
Sure.
And I think that with Ezra, he wasn't doing it to stand up to a bully. He just happened to be standing up against a bully in it. But he like at some point dramatically like shoves the tray of gross shit out of the way and magically flops this Time article on the 100 national top honor student, my favorite article that comes
Yeah, of
out
course.
every year.
Yeah, Tom
Yeah.
And it's
100
like,
Yeah, I can't
look
wait.
at all these kids, man. They're all in sports teams. They do service hours. They got good grades. And everyone's like, yeah, you do all those things. You're awesome. We love you. He's like, yeah, but they're all leaders, and I'm no leader.
And I need to get into the Ivy Leagues.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
can work on Wall Street. He drops that bomb a few times. Narc. Anyway, what a cop.
Tell him.
Yeah. I liked you
Take
better in
that.
Halloween
Ezra.
Town High. Anyway.
He's not in Halloween Town High. He's in
Yes,
Halloween
he is.
Town.
It literally said so on the internet.
He's in Halloween Town University.
And as we know, everything we on the internet is entirely
he's not in Halloween Town High. He's in Halloween Town
irrefutable.
University.
He,
And true.
it's not called Halloween Halloween Town University.
Halloween
we're gonna
Town
wait.
College?
Let's return to this.
That's
We're
a
gonna-
series we should watch. Sorry.
I love Halloween Town. We're gonna get through this plot.
Yeah,
but
I can't wait
but,
till we see Halloween Town University.
So, so
What's it called?
Hello,
we're gonna
you.
return to this.
That's not what the fuck it's called.
HU.
Halloween.
I think you're confusing Halloween Town High and like Monsters University.
There's also
no,
Halloween
no.
Town 2, Return to Halloween Town.
So there's
Is that what
Halloween
you're
Town,
thinking?
Halloween Town 2, Return to Halloween Town High. Those are all correct.
You said Halloween Town High. No, you
No.
didn't. There's Halloween
And then
Town.
there's the fourth one, which is the one where
Follow
they
you.
replace Marnie with where it's also Marnie, but it's Sarah Paxton instead of
They
whoever
just
the fuck did
randomly
it before.
changed the actress.
Nothing against
That was
Sarah
so
Paxton.
messed up.
Aquamarine,
No, but
not the
she-
worst movie I've ever seen, but she's not that.
just a
Anyway, Lucas
different-
Grable's
it's-
in that one.
Yeah, they just replaced the main character with a different actress as
Look.
if no one would notice, as if it wasn't the fourth movie in a franchise with a devoted tween following.
Okay,
Anyway,
listener,
How
just
devoted.
picture Mike and I just making uncomfortable eye contact with each other through that.
Look, it's not our fault that you didn't really live through
Yeah, we don't
2000s.
know about Halloween Town. That is on us. I mean, we're the
What?
ones running a fucking movie podcast here.
Yo,
Yeah.
Hey,
Town.
Halloween's coming up. We
Yeah,
gotta
at
make
least
some
I know it's
Halloween
Hello You.
episodes.
So, enough about Halloween Town. Oh, I hate that I just said that. Never enough about Halloween Town. But
For shame.
what were we talking about?
We were
Some
talking
movie.
about Lucas
Ryan
wanting to be
Regal.
in the Ivy Leagues, and Ezra, don't any of you say it. Ezra wanting to be
poser.
a
I
Wall
think I was
Street
calling him a
little
cop.
pay boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Because he's a cop in this movie. He just says there's a lot of like, unsurprisingly, I think it's flavorful enough for the context of what the movie is. Just like enough like weird to mid 2000s sexism and like
Yeah.
classism.
Yeah. So after
His
he's
family.
like, I want to be a Wall Street man, so I got to go to Ivy Leagues.
Yeah.
Then he's like, so I'm going to be class president because that'll make me go to the Ivy Leagues. And then all his friends laugh at him. And then it cuts to his family laughing at him.
God, yeah, like in the
His
same-
his grandmother, who is definitely younger than his father.
Yeah.
And his father, who should have been cast as his grandfather.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or like an uncle or something.
for no real relevance other than seemingly some sort of
Proving he's not an
every other
orphan.
generation kind of
Yeah.
power. Whatever.
Yeah, it's also
the lineage
like-
of this is interesting.
Yeah,
No
it
idea.
felt like they were kind of going for like a Peter Parker-esque, like raised by not traditional family structure kind of
Maybe.
thing.
Which I'm about. That's fine.
They nailed his high school
That's-
angst
yeah.
against his family unit, though.
That's
Well,
true. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so then family unit's like, oh, come on. Have you seen that bully guy who we can't remember the name of? Of
He's
course
so
he's
cool.
going to win. He's so cool.
And you're a fucking loser. Don't even
And
try, you
they
fucking
more or less
loser.
say that.
And then Lucas is like, shut up, Grandma. You make bad food. And then his dad's like, hey, watch your mouth, boy.
And then he's like, I'm not even hungry. And yet again, we see him not eat a normal meal.
Well, that was on
Right.
purpose because there's a challenge the next day
I-
we're gonna get to.
Anywho,
He
so
sniffs the bread though. Do you notice that he like holds it up to his face gently?
Yeah.
He does a lot of food sniffing.
Yeah.
And then we get to golf practice.
yeah, he talks with Dylan and his best
established
friend
their-
Dylan.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he basically says, "No, I'm serious. I need to be
Best.
I need to be the president." And then Dylan's like, "Yeah, but you're already going to be captain of the golf team." Foreshadowing. And Ezra's like, "That's not enough." And then
He's like, "I
Dylan's
don't care what it
"Fine,
takes."
I'll help you." And Ezra's like, "Really? I promise. We'll make this memorable." And Dylan's like,
I promise
You
this
got
won't
it.
ruin our friendship.
And don't you worry, we'll pad my resume as a team.
"Yeah." And then that's more or less the scene.
he's in science class.
With the butterfly and the weird teacher.
Yeah,
it's
the
like,
teacher's
don't
like-
move.
Yeah, the teacher seems to struggle with the projector for a few minutes,
But
and then
it's just the teacher can't get the like slide straight, but it's clearly just like the teacher.
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like it doesn't add anything. He's just, and then he screams, "Don't move!" to the class and runs
Don't
away
move.
very desperately
And then Ezra decides to stand up on the table,
and announce his candidacy.
and everybody loves that.
And he says, hey, look, I realize the field is tough with the main quarterback fella and, head cheerleader both running for class president. But I think I'd be pretty cool.
And he takes the Joe Biden approach by saying,
Yeah.
come on, you don't want this guy
Enough
anymore.
of that
Come on,
guy."
try this guy.
Yeah.
I'm this new guy.
Yeah, try the
I
new
could be
guy.
something different.
Forget that old guy. He stinks. Nobody likes that guy. This guy.
And then
what do you got to lose?
two notable things. One is that as he steps down from his like lab chair,
Right.
one of the dudes in the classroom, who's the same dude that I said that I
Yes,
liked later,
yes.
he's like, "What's your name?" He was like, I'm Ezra Chase. That's my name." And he was like, okay, cool. And another thing too.
Some kid was like, "Who's that guy?" And he's like, "I don't know. I thought he went to a different school." or
Yeah,
something."
exactly. Like, I thought he was just visiting. Because in his little
Highlighting
speech,
that
he's like,
he's in
you
fact
know,
That's
not
what
popular.
kids do all the time. They go to visit other schools.
I
he's
feel
like,
like I knew the people in my classes. Is
Yeah.
the thing.
yeah, well,
Like I don't know what time of year it was, but like
Well,
my
they do highlight. To be fair, to give the writers credit, they do say that it's early in the year. I do note that.
Ah.
So
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, how long is the span of this movie?
well,
Well,
59 days.
a little
Did
bit
not
more.
feel like it.
Not,
Right.
No, it felt like a week.
A little bit more, but yeah, just about.
That's what 2 months.
Something like that.
The seasons
Yes.
didn't change at all.
about.
But the other thing, he goes, "If you're interested in seeing what I'm all about, come stop by my lunch table." That's what he says.
Right. And
Cut
I'll
to
show you a
lunch.
glimpse of the future.
Again.
Where, yet again,
The writer said, "How do we segue to this next
they
bit?"
say, "What do people like?" And then they remember Jackass Kid just come out,
Yeah.
and so all of
This is
Ezra's
really if
bits.
Disney Channel and Jackass had a baby, a really ugly baby.
Yeah, and basically they throw some shit in a blender and say Ezra's gonna eat this, and so
Yeah.
he
Well, actually, I
gathers
think
a
it
very
starts off with chugging a gallon
No,
of
no,
milk.
they do the
Oh
gallon.
yes, you're right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
announce his candidacy
Yeah.
publicly at the lunch table, and then they say, and
as
to
is
prove it-
customary, when anybody runs for office, they have to drink a gallon of milk in less than 3 minutes.
Oh god.
He's like,
and
"I haven't
Shelby's
eaten
like,
since
I
lunch."
feel like this is physically like not gonna work out at all. I feel like stomachs aren't made for drinking an entire gallon of milk in under 3 minutes. Something about regurgitation and all that jazz. And then Ezra's like, "Can it?" And then starts drinking.
How does it go?
And,
How
and
does it go
vomits.
for Ezra?
Vomits.
I'm pretty sure it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, he vomits. I thought he
He-
nailed it.
No.
Oh,
He drank like
No.
2/3 of it.
Man,
surprisingly,
what?
but
And then the
How's that
janitor is like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh."
this fucking janitor.
Yeah,
Poor
this
janitor. man.
who doesn't talk. I will say, Stacy and I
Yeah.
watched
we watched like
we watched-
30 seconds.
of like a behind the scenes, like it was like someone had shot, I guess, a documentary of the making the movie because there was like day 5, like set 2. Making of Adventures of Food Boy.
Hell yeah.
And it was an interview with the janitor, and it was like, and he was
He
just
was
like,
British
oh,
too, right?
Yeah, he's like, oh, it's the role of a lifetime, and I'm so excited. And it was really funny
He's
to
like-
watch this movie
he was like,
because he
"It's a
doesn't
real-
speak,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
doesn't do
Really
anything.
unique role to play.
I really
Yeah,
thought I was
why
really
is he
hoping
British?
missed
That's so
opportunity by
funny.
not making him that weird chef in the shadows.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
100%.
There are a couple missed opportunities in
Yeah.
the movie, but I thought
I
that
think
was
this movie
evident.
was a missed opportunity.
Because so much of this movie is about like splattering weird foods and throwing up and stuff like that, and this janitor has to go around cleaning up all of Ezra's nonsense, and he
Surprised there
just
weren't more fart jokes.
is always that would be kind of par for the course, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, let's thank God that they're not in there, collectively,
Eh.
and thank the janitor for cleaning up all those messes,
Yeah, be sure to thank your janitor.
even though he seems
what the hell
awfully
is that
grumpy
approved?
about it.
This is a lot of non sequitur scenes in what is seemingly
Yeah.
asynchronous format.
Yeah.
Basically, he goes to give his volunteer hours, which seem to be somewhat obligatory and not out of the kindness of his heart,
Right.
He gets
Yeah.
bullied
like
by
all
children.
volunteers.
He's got to get into Ivy Leagues.
Yeah, and basically the kids say you suck. I think one literally says you suck at reading. Or
Yeah, they're
something
like, you're a bad reader.
Yeah, and the other one says I don't like you or some shit like that.
He was practicing his speech in the auditorium with his friends that night after he did reading.
Yes, and he's
Come on, we have
terrible.
a
He's
lot
not a
of
good leader. He's not a good
unimportant
speechwriter.
scenes.
Everybody knows that leaders. It's really only about how good you talk.
Speech.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
true.
you can't talk well,
Speech.
if you crumble under pressure, you'll never be a leader.
Yeah.
Get that through your head, Nate.
Damn.
Yeah, tell him. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Give us your class
Anyway.
speech, Nate. Huh?
Okay.
Go for it. Why should we elect you?
Do your Ox Bellows voice.
Well, you see, the other guy has been class president for too many years, and I think it's time for a change. And I'm going to show you guys things that you have never seen before. And that's why I would make a good class president.
Scope
anybody's help
offs.
pastrami?
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, so next day,
Right.
this kid's in late to his English class, and then he
Classic.
smells.
Classic
Peen-
Ezra. Am I
and then-
right?
And then
Every day.
he says to Shelby, he sits next to him in class, which we didn't know before, but we know now.
Right.
Hey, do you smell peanut butter?
Yes.
To which Shelby says, what? To which he says, it smells like peanut butter. And then Shelby says, oh my God, there's peanut butter on your face.
No, you missed the cancer joke.
What? There's a
Oh,
cancer
yeah.
joke?
Yeah, because he's like, if your hands smell like peanut butter, does
That mean you're gonna die of cancer?
And then people smell their hand and you push their hand into their face.
Is that a thing?
Well, the peanut
I've
butter.
always
isn't
heard
specifically
the like
if your hand is
hand's
bigger
Yeah,
than
and
your
you're in your
face.
face. Like, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
but I think they adapted it to the fact that he was smelling a bit of.
Yeah, because what I really like is he
That's
just like,
very
I'm not
2000.
falling for
yeah,
that.
exactly.
very
She seems
2008.
awfully familiar with this pitch where it's just like, oh, the old peanut butter cancer joke again. No, that's real. You clown.
It
I'm
was
not
real
falling for it
this time.
today.
That's the boy who cried peanut butter.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Anywho,
Boy who
he
cried
smells
cancer.
peanut butter, and then Shelby says, oh my God, there's peanut butter on your face. And
Yeah.
then
And then the teacher's like, "Stop flirting."
yeah, he
There's
says,
peanut butter like coming out from his hand.
yeah, and then he runs to the bathroom, and there's peanut butter all over him.
Yeah.
And he washes it off, and then
Then I think he starts getting ready for his big speech in front of the school.
Yeah,
and he's
and
like,
then- and-
"Does anybody smell pastrami?"
and his friends are like, calm down, blah blah blah, get on stage. And then he gets on stage and he throws pastrami at a couple folks, including the school bully,
Yeah, just
including
like
the teacher.
cold cuts are just like appearing by him.
Yeah,
and he's
it's
like,
his
"What is
debate
going
strategy."
on?"
Yeah.
He's just like, time to cut the competition.
I wish, yeah, no, he didn't lean into
No,
it at all,
no,
as you
no,
said.
no
He was
puns.
just like,
No, not
why is there meat coming from my hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he like freaks out and he throws meat on, like he finds meat on the podium and I guess gets scared.
Yeah.
And he like kind of fumbles away in another tripping fashion. And apparently what I had initially thought was the students laughing at him were the students loving him.
I
because
guess.
he threw cold cuts at
Yeah.
them.
I
I
guess.
feel like thank you so much for throwing meat
It's like
at our
SeaWorld.
favorite
It's like
person.
SeaWorld, I guess. They're like, yeah.
And then he threw
I
it at
love
like,
it.
a teacher too.
Yeah, my guess was that I was kind of in the assumption that they were like cheering for him / laughing at what he did because they're like, "Ha ha, he got the teacher and the other candidate. Ha ha, that's so funny. He
Yeah.
threw meat at them."
Why didn't I think of bringing
Well-
like salami to school?
Well, and then we get to the crucial, most important scene in this movie.
The magnum opus of this piece, I think.
Absolutely.
Ezra, terrified of what his pastrami hands have made him,
Yep.
runs to the bathroom and begins
He locks himself in
uncontrollably
there.
shooting pastrami,
Yeah.
which is then like backfiring on him
It's
and like
piling.
shooting him in the gut, and he seems
Yeah.
like he's being like shot.
He's
It's
gonna
really
drown
it's
in his
really
own
gruesome,
pastrami
honestly.
production.
And then
I wanna
bread
hear-
begins
I
to
wanna
appear
hear
in the
y'all's
best
takes on
CGI
this.
in the best CGI I've ever seen.
Right.
Bread
Easy.
appears from his hand like
Easy.
toaster bread. Like
So what are to pause for a moment here? What are, as y'all are now official movie watchers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this scene? I want to hear each of you give me your take on it.
The scene at large.
Ooh,
No,
could we?
no,
Could we?
I'm asking.
Wait, I know, but I have a proposition. Could we go through the scene and all of us define it from a single viewpoint?
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
like,
sure.
from the viewpoint of
The bread.
the bread, right? From the viewpoint of Lucas, from the viewpoint of his friends outside the dorm.
Oh, that is
Wait, no,
definitely happening.
Viewpoint of Lucas and then viewpoint of Ezra.
Ooh,
viewpoint of
ooh, yeah,
yeah.
And the viewpoint of the writer, I think is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll
So-
start with the writer.
Okay.
Oh man, this is gonna be so good. I'm gonna make so much fucking money.
Oh,
This is my ticket.
God.
This is my ticket to the big leagues in Hollywood. And this Lucas kid, fresh off of that hit High School Musical. Oh, the money's gonna be coming in.
That movie was baloney. Baloney.
That gives me an idea.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I'm-
that poor actor.
The scene, you know the scene I'm talking about?
Maybe
the bathroom
one we've been
scene
talking
with
about.
the bread
Yeah.
and the mustard. So,
Okay.
so that is the moment.
Yeah.
Capture for me that moment.
Again, from the
From
view
the
of
right.
And
writer.
haiku, of course.
Okay.
Or else.
So
Salami is free. That's good. Good start.
Okay, I can't do a haiku. I've tried.
Right.
Make it a limerick?
Money, money, money. I blew all the money on the CGI for the bread. Yes, I imagine that the writer was thinking.
Is that a fucking limerick?
Yeah. Have you never heard a limerick before? Come
I
on.
guess not.
Money, money, money. I blew all the money on the bread.
It's just like my grandma used to tell me. I don't know. I think that this writer,
Sweet Christ.
God bless him, he was just trying to. I honestly, it feels like when he was doing this scene, he was like doing the entire like legwork of like, all right, I need to make the scene that the entire trailer is going to be based out of, and that will get people to come see this movie. And then everything else was secondary beyond this scene.
Yeah.
And I think they really needed to highlight the uncontrollable urge, and like what better way to do it than to coat a room
Right.
in absolute mustard.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like whoever like came up with this movie and pitched it and wrote the bulk of the screenplay like saw a food fight in a film and was just like got such a kick out of it. They were just like, that is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I got to
Why is
make
there
a
not
movie
more
where
of
we can do
this?
so much of those. And he's like, but how would I innovate the food fight? He's like, all right. Every food fight always has like a cafeteria of kids, but get this, one person throwing all the food, right? And it's like, how would they even come up with all that food? And they nod to this innovation in the movie because one of the characters has a line where they're like, I've never seen one man throw a food fight before, and I'm like, oh my god, he's genius. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's innovating the food fight genre, and he's basically doing it right here with what really is a masterfully written single room scene. Notice how they didn't have to change scenery for the entirety of the food fight. It's pretty phenomenal, and just him, and his food.
Let's do something
Fighting
a little
himself.
different here.
I do have one. Is it okay? If
No, yeah, please go ahead.
From the point of view of Lucas Grabeel acting in that moment, I'm thinking maybe the plot of the movie was something entirely different, but he was the star of that show. And maybe he's like a big Hollywood diva. So all of, because it was like mustard, bread, and like pastrami.
Right.
That's a deli fucking sandwich.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that Lucas Grabeel, that scene was candid. He was unhappy with the state of the catering. He had just come off the tailwinds of fucking High School Musical. That man was coasting. Disney Channel original movie star. He was on like the Kids' Choice Awards. He was on like the
Teen Choice
Musical
Award.
at
the green carpet.
High School Musical to DCOM?
Yeah.
Whoa! It was so
It was
famous
the
that I kind
DCOM.
of I just think of like
It's like
B-rate
the
movies
defining-
as like DCOM
No,
movies.
it's like the defining DCOM. Would love a DCOM marathon at some point.
Disney Channel original movie. I was also just parsing that out, and it just hit
Disney
me.
Channel original. It's like a
Luck of the Irish.
I
Stuck
thought I
in
was
the
thinking
suburbs.
Disney comedy for some reason.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that
with
was
the
the
kids
first
The
jumping
channel
over.
abbreviation was like
DCOM.
I think it was
But-
called
Uh
DCOM.
oh, Mike, your mic is disconnected.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, did you? I don't know.
How about now?
It seems to be on now. No,
Oh
it's on.
boy.
I think it was relatively recent. I think we're good.
Okay,
So-
I choose
but
to believe
so
you.
Lucas Grabeel was unhappy with the catering, and he threw a little diva tantrum because he's a little glamour star.
Sure.
He was like, "Hey,
You know
I
what?
deserve better food," and they filmed it. They're like, "This is raw emotion."
You know what? I think
This is
I
what
think
we
you're right.
need.
I think that a lot of those movies or those shots where we're like, "What is this shot?" Those are edits from a documentarian standpoint. That scene like late in the movie where the dude's just eating more Twinkies than like is relevant to the plot. That's just a real zoomed in shot. Like that's not part of the script. That wasn't someone just knew that needed to
Right.
be there.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that solves like that idea there like solves a lot of the problems I have with this movie.
So
Not all of them.
I want to try something that we've never done before on the podcast.
Okay.
I don't know who wants to fulfill this with me, but I'd like to do a little improv as to the pitch of this movie.
Oh, I'm in.
Ooh. I mean, can we all just be in the writer's room?
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
I'm gonna observe.
All right.
Okay.
I'm feeling tired.
Who's gonna be who here?
I'll be the guy approving it. Like I'm not sold on it yet, but I'm the one who you have to secure funding from.
I think I'm the one that you're unsure. I'm the one that's telling you this is a hit, and you've got to pitch this idea. So I don't want to get caught. I don't want to be the one that takes.
So
the fall
I'm the
for
one
it.
who's got like the main idea.
You're the one who-
but you're like gassing me up. You're like, come on, man, they gotta get this.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be the
Yeah.
somber onlooker who you're trying to impress, but I'm wordless,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm
Yeah, you're in
Yeah,
the
you're
board
the
meeting
silent
and you're
majority.
like,
The silent majority who should have spoken up, but was afraid to.
Right.
Now, have we talked about this film prior, or is this the first time I'm bringing it up to you?
I think you and I have definitely had a couple conversations about this movie. I don't think I fully understand the scope of your vision.
Right.
I think
mean,
that's
who
part
could?
of it. It's not until this pitch where
Yeah.
I really become aware of
Okay,
how.
I think I'm ready
how
to
deep
start
it's
this
going.
scene.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
let's do
welcome
it.
to the pitch room, gentlemen. Now, I'll have you know in advance, the first thing that I always look for before we approve a film is whether or not you can get any noise produced from my notoriously silent partner. So best of luck with that. From what I understand, we have some real star power here. I'm thinking...
Oh, absolutely. You see, I just finished the script for what I can only describe as the next blockbuster. You know, it's 2008. Come on.
Yeah.
We got Iron Man. Who's this chump? I've never even heard of him. So last year,
Yeah.
what you
Okay.
need to hear about is Food Boy.
Food Boy. Who is he, Marvel? DC?
Completely independent.
Wow.
So you're not going to have to pay those the heavy hitters over at Marvel and DC.
But he's
This is a
gonna have a lot of
100%
notoriety to make up.
original character.
I will say, we've already talked with, perhaps you've heard of him, Lucas Grabeel. He stars as Ryan in High School Musical. You remember that DCOM movie?
Wait, like the fifth?
I hear
the
they're
best stuff.
scheduled for at least 2 more of those. So he's going to be
Okay, if he's appearing in the rest of them, I could see that.
oh yeah.
Anyway, my wife is his cousin. I can pull a few strings. But really, it's a done deal. All we need is your approval. This thing's genius.
And here's
Right.
the best part. Half the movie's already filmed.
Oh.
We actually had a crew over at the High School Musical set.
Okay.
And we actually caught a meltdown that Lucas was having at the crafts table. And we figure with the right editors and the right actors with very low budget here,
Right.
we can finish this film with extremely low budget here
The
and
only
have a
thing we-
soaring profit.
The only thing we really need, there's one scene where we need some CGI. A little bit, but it's just really
I
it's
mean, that's pretty
important.
cutting edge.
It's I know, it's important, but hear me out. Imagine bread
Okay.
could emerge from your hand.
Okay. I'm trying.
It's hard.
This is
It's hard to
hard.
imagine,
Yeah.
but with CGI,
I.
it's possible.
All right. And I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time. Do you have any test footage that I could see? Maybe anything you filmed? You said you filmed things in advance. Do you have any of that to present to me now?
Well, it's more or less just Lucas throwing meat at the wall, but
Well, let's see. Go ahead. Pop it on in.
okay, sure thing. Okay, this is Lucas throwing meat at the wall.
Oh wow. I don't. It looks like it's coming from him.
Well, that's the beauty of it. It is.
riveting.
Is it? Does it? Is? Oh my God. Wait. What did you just say?
Well, sir, I hate to get too ahead of myself here, but I think we've got a hit here.
Yeah. I mean, if you've gotten a peep out of my partner here, that's all I need to hear.
End scene.
Frankly, that's better acting in this movie. I will say, the worst acting in this movie, the worst presence in this movie.
Okay.
Shelby's uncontrollable shaking.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
too many shots
Yeah.
that were just Shelby.
Right.
Contorting her body.
And
Yeah.
and every scene, it seemed as though the director had said, "Could you just like wiggle a little bit more?" Because I mean,
Yeah.
it was like in a given sentence, she would like stretch or like
Yeah.
move her torso
A lot
or
of full body
arms
motion. Yeah.
at least like 3 times.
Right.
Like
So
She's a serious case of bonitis.
I will say, that's another thing that does strike me as sexist about this. Like, earlier you said you were talking about the writer and using him pronouns. And, like, I don't know who the writer of this is, but I have no doubt it's a man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's very obvious.
Yeah, in the credits. I forget.
It's 2008.
Manjum, I think, were the last names. It was like a pair who I could presume to be brothers.
Why is it never women, Jim?
That's thoughtful, Nate.
Thank you.
But it's just like it's something about like just teenage girls or teenage adjacent girls like working on movie sets. They're like, can you just like
flip your hair back and forth?
Yeah.
You just do that a bunch?
How short can your shorts go?
I think so.
How can we make that possible without it being overtly sexist?
Shimmy your
You run
shoulders.
track. That's right.
Yeah.
Your shoulders, shimmy them.
Yeah.
All right, gang. I think we lost some time there with our little improv. So we
Why
got to
don't we
kick it
let-
into overdrive here for
So-
this plot.
So I think one of somebody who is able to be direct with how they're speaking can just quickly get through the plot because I'm also losing steam.
Yeah, let's do it. We got time to make up for here. So Lucas is shooting meat and bread and mustard all over the place.
Shooting meat.
And everybody is like, Lucas, are you okay? And he's like, go away. And then they're like,
The
okay.
teacher busts in, I guess has a key. He bangs on the door for a long amount of time before eventually, I guess, using the key that he had
it's like, I
anyway.
respect your privacy. I want to give you a chance.
I hate you, by the way. And then he busts in and he says to the principal's office, and I think gets squirted with mustard. And then basically the principal, who seems to be somewhat sympathetic to him, basically says, you're suspended. He goes home. And his grandmother, who we previously know is a hack, only because
He referred to her life as long and pathetic.
Yep.
As you
using
should
a
for all
metaphor for
grandparents.
rotations around the sun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, we only get so many years on this earth, and I don't want to waste them like my grandmother, that
it makes it
lonely,
very
old, pathetic woman.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then he storms past the grandmother who's like, hard day at school, and he's like, I don't want to talk about it, and he's covered in mustard. And so
Like
then
covered.
and
He's
so then she
absolutely drenched.
He's covered in
absolutely.
Yeah.
So she just like follows him up, and he's like, no, go away, I don't want to talk about it. And then she's like, did you
From
shoot
behind a
mustard
closed-
out of your hands? And this is the moment where my jaw dropped, and I was
fucking
like,
reveal.
am I asleep and dreaming? Because this is not the movie. But no, it turns out that the grandmother, the big reveal, the grandmother also has food apparition powers.
Yes.
And she lets him know that it's a generation thing. It's been in their family for years and years. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Long history of food apparition. Really
Ensuing,
weird, like sketches almost of
Yeah.
like different time periods
Yes.
with like weird
Which
play
is
set
weird.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Ensuing montage of them training on
Which is
creating
really just
food.
like food on a plate.
Interestingly, at no point in this entire movie is they bring up frequently, with this food you can help people.
Right.
At no point do they say we can solve
Nope.
hunger.
Right at
Right.
the
Or
end,
poverty, like-
right when he decided to use his powers again, because it was that last day.
Right.
Not to spoil that,
Ah,
but
that's fine.
he goes, goodbye Wall Street, hello Soup Kitchen. So he implies that he'd work at a soup kitchen, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a career, good for him.
Right.
But yeah, so they use some training and stuff.
Basically, he goes to school, and he's been suspended, and he goes, and he's kind of
Yeah,
cool
so like
now
the 2
because-
days have passed now.
Right.
his
And
2
the
days
election
suspended.
happened while he was suspended.
And they hadn't determined the result because he technically won, because even though he got disqualified by the teacher without it being okayed by the principal, which they really go into excruciating detail to discuss how that was done.
Yeah.
I bet some writer just really was like, it's not
It's
there's
not
a
going to make
plot
sense.
hole.
It's-
And they're
How
like,
are they gonna
okay,
explain
fine, we'll explain it.
yeah. And basically they cut him a deal that he's on probation and can be the first ever junior class vice president.
All right, come on, like girl boss, baby.
And then the teacher's like, I hate you. And then
I didn't want this.
Oh, there's also a popular girl who is said to be the hottest girl in the school, and she's like 30.
Yeah.
Hottest
and-
milf in
Yeah.
school.
And she was running as class president, running for class president as well. But then Shelby convinced her to run for secretary
go way
instead.
back.
And,
Operation
so then,
S2J.
yeah,
Shelby's really able to float through the social groups. It's very clear that she sits with the geeks, but is cool with
She's a
some of the
nomad.
jocks.
Yeah, pretty widely
Well, she said they
accepted.
go way back. I assume they're like family friends. or
Yeah, but they also
something.
have her sitting with other people, right? Like,
Well, no, but that's when the friend group broke up.
Well, and they're both on the track team, so.
Well, anyway, the presumably hot girl is the is the secretary.
Yeah.
The jock bully is the president, and Ezra is the vice president.
Our government.
Yes, and so they have a meeting where they're planning like a pep rally or something,
Yes.
and then they basically come to the conclusion of, okay, we'll do this. Ezra, you'll do a magic trick?
and then it's the day of the magic trick, and Ezra decides he's going to throw food at them again, and
Yep.
throws multiple foods and then passes out.
Yeah, because it drains him.
I just want to reiterate that like everyone was so tickled and like filled with mirth when this like fucking dude just like exploded a bunch of sliced meat onto them in the crowd.
And then,
They're
like,
oh my god, I'm eating
unsauced
hamburger."
raw spaghetti.
Yeah.
Like, check it out.
And then
Like,
it,
oh, this guy's so cool.
They're just
and
happy
then
to be
like
in the
immediately
splash zone.
after, then the hot girl secretary comes up to him and is like, I like your spaghetti throwing. Come to my party at my house.
Like if someone tried to do that in real life, they would get the shit beat out of them.
Almost uncertain or undoubtedly.
Threw
Yeah.
raw meats at someone.
But yeah, so
You went to your
then
school pep rally, just threw raw meat on your classmates.
they go to the party. Ezra's chatting up hot girl, and Shelby sees this and is like, but I thought that we had an unspoken crush on each other. And so then she starts putting the
obligatory.
exactly.
I don't need you. I've got
Love
Dylan.
triangle.
So then she starts putting the moves on his friend Dylan,
Uh-huh.
and it's the most
Classic.
cliche, like, oh, show me how to do this golf swing.
Wrap your arms around me.
He's looking, do it
So-
again, and then
Yeah.
then
That
he's
happened
like,
to me
I have to
once.
leave. Yeah,
It was
How
about
was it?
playing pool, and I still don't know how to play pool.
nice.
Yeah, it was awkward.
Nice.
Did you fall in love though?
No.
Oh. so anyway, so then they had their thing. Jesus, what happened then?
What?
Did we-
Party
After the
ends.
party.
So many things. When did he get thrown into a warehouse with like a famous chef at 3
I don't know.
at some
Jesus
point
Christ.
in the middle of the night, it's very clear it is the middle of the night.
Yes.
The grandmother wakes him up and says, "Come with me," and then says, "You need to train alone," and then brings him to a
Drops him
warehouse.
off in a warehouse.
Bring him to a warehouse in the middle of the night,
Right.
where some sort of chef that I guess
Who we
were-
saw on the TV very, very briefly.
Yes,
Right.
for like 20 seconds, and it was not like relevant or
He is
important.
a Food
all.
Network chef.
Basically, I think he's probably some sort of famous chef from 2008. I don't know much about cooking, like
My
network shows.
next best guess is a spoof of a very famous TV chef
yeah,
of the time.
Yeah, this movie doesn't really seem like it. They spent their budget on the bread and Lucas
Yeah.
Graham. But basically, they go in there, and this dude is talking in the shadows about how he needs to like train
Yeah.
to become a food
Right.
guy, and then
And he trained
and then
under
turns the
Lucas's
light on in a very
grandmother's
dramatic way.
grandfather.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, and, like,
hold on. Yeah. They-
Alludes to being immortal.
yeah, this dude it seems to be immortal because he talks about how he trained with his grandmother, with Ezra's grandmother's grandfather.
Right.
Like multiple times, it's made very clear that he knew.
I thought it was
Intimately,
another
both of
generation
them.
up. I thought it was like his grandfather.
I don't know.
No.
Either way, it seemed kind of like vague as to what his backstory was, because at first it seemed like Ezra was like, "Oh, you have powers too," and he's like, "Nah, like
Well,
never
he said
did."
not anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, 'cause I caught
Yeah.
that, and I was like, "Wait, did he never have them, or he had them and
No,
lost
he
them?"
had him.
So the
and gave him up.
59. So one of the things that his grandmother talked about was like there's 59 food groups, and the number 59 kept appearing. Like it was like the 59 page.
It's the magic
59
number.
page. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he was
59 's
like
the
on the
food number.
59th day of having your power. If you don't use it, it goes away. and
And he's like, "That's
decided-
next week.
And he's
I
like,
can
"Oh, I
get
can't
rid
wait.
of this."
I can't fucking wait to get rid of my food powers."
Yeah.
And so then Chef Man is like, you're going to regret it. And he's like, I really don't think I will. And he's like, here, have this oatmeal I made. And then he had it. He's like, huh, that's some good oatmeal.
It's like, maybe I'll regret this.
And then it cuts to him getting into the car with his grandmother and him falling asleep immediately. And she's like, he must have trained. And then he's back in bed. And it's like, clearly he's been asleep. And she like wakes him up and it's like, wake up. You must be tired, huh?
Well, and then I think this is also the same time where we get a scene with the dad who says, the kid's like, he had a hard day. Yeah. And he says, oh, was he acting up again? Should I go talk to him? And it's made very clear, we had just joked when we were watching this about how the dad really seems to only appear to be like, son, I'm disappointed in you and your joke.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
Right.
And then literally the next scene was, oh, was he being difficult? Should I go talk to him?
Yeah.
And it was like...
Also, this kid's clearly very high achieving. Like, he's going through some stuff, but, like, why is his dad's attitude like that when this kid's like, I just gotta get into the best Ivy League. I'm doing everything right except for
like, the only other interaction we've seen between the father and the son, other than the two that we have mentioned already, was the dad, like, being like, well, son, you probably shouldn't run for class president.
Right.
Your mother would love that. But she's dead. Okay, good night, son.
And then just like, you're suspended. Wish I could say I'm surprised, frankly.
There was one more scene where he gets into the car because he's running late for school and the dad's already waiting for him and is like, don't fuck it up again.
Yeah,
boy,
right.
like, is more or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Ezra and Dylan are at golf practice.
Right.
And there's the drill sergeant golf coach.
Yeah. The
all right,
ex-Marine
maggots.
golf, yeah.
We're going to get pars and eagles.
Yeah.
And yes. And then...
Yes.
And then he's like, all right, as you know, it's now time for me to announce the new golf team leader.
3 months into the school year.
And then Ezra's like pretty much like slicking his hair back. Like, I can't wait to be golf team captain. And he's like, and Dylan is the new captain. And then, what? How could it be? And then Ezra gets really pissed off at Dylan because it's totally Dylan's fault.
Ezra says, hey, best friend, your successes are my failures.
Exactly. And yeah,
Says,
so then
hey,
there's
man,
like just this weird...
my resume. I don't know what college you're going to, buddy.
Ezra's basically like, I needed this to get into Ivy League. And Dylan's like, dude, what do you want me to do? And then Ezra says like, fuck you, buddy.
And starts throwing meat at him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he starts uncontrollably throwing meat. And then the coach gets all up in his face and says...
Leave, please.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're really harshing the vibe here, buddy. With your meat.
Yeah, well... Talent show?
Yeah, it's a talent show.
Talent show?
We need like one of those board, like that, like one of the conspiracy boards, and all of the like red string to connect each mini plot line.
I would love to have a motif board of this movie.
But yeah, so then there's like a talent show that happens, and
with the director's favorite like niece.
yeah, doing a song, and the like audio balancing is very weird, so it doesn't sound like a live thing at all. It definitely sounds like a recording and somebody lip syncing.
You're telling me that wasn't live?
I don't know. You could have fooled me. Dylan had been seen hanging out with the jock bully, and so they're like buds now.
He's now a class jock himself as
apparently
president.
And
of the
so
golf
then,
club.
as a new like class jock, he is, I guess, being the like announcer of the acts for the talent show.
Yes.
So then he announces Ezra's act as Food Boy in a demeaning way.
Right.
And Ezra's like, very Spider-Man 1-esque. Mike, it's not Food Boy. And then it's like, come on, go on.
Food man.
So then he then does his magic act.
the human food.
His magic act that entails putting random items into a blender and then having people from the audience say a food that they think he should make with those items, and then he does a weird hat thing that he does every time, and it's very long and drawn out.
He has a wizard's cap straight out of The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia.
And then he pulls said food out of the hat.
Right.
And so he pulls out some cookies. Everyone's like, whoa.
Oh, these are good cookies.
The slow care that dude eats the cookies.
Yeah,
with.
he was like, really...
It's delicious.
He's like, I'm sorry, I thought you came from another school. I'm so glad you go to my school.
Thank you for these cookies. cookies.
Give
And
me
then some
cookies.
girl's like, I want sherbet. And then he pulls out sherbet, but then
Wait.
another girl eats it.
His creepy friend who
Oh,
keeps
yeah.
being gross.
Joel, I
keeps
think.
doing
Yeah,
some weird-
Joel. He like does like he like invites. He's like, all right, beautiful, gorgeous women, come on stage.
I'm going to put my arm around you.
Yeah, and then he like drags his arm around her. He's like, so sexy, bitch. What do you want? Like,
He's the real
and
ladies' man.
she
this one.
immediately like grabs his hand and she drops it off and she faces him with like this look at her. And she's like, sherbet. And she's like, okay. So I
And then yeah, they feed the sherbet to the other the hot lady, the 30-year-old one.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
30-year-old
And the first
hot
one
lady's like,
disappears.
I want watermelon.
Yeah, which I think is interesting because we've clearly seen that he placed strawberries into the blender and like yogurt, and then she
Yeah.
says a watermelon.
No, she says peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, that's right. And then Joel is like,
No.
"Fuck you,
too easy.
go again."
It's too easy. We wanted to pass out, you see.
And then she says a watermelon, which I just find really interesting that.
It's also like
They
not a
ask you-
food that you make. It's just a food that exists.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, he tries to conjure up a watermelon. It's very clear he's gone too far, and he pulls out like
He's
a
lost his
watermelon
stamina.
rind, and then he tries again, and then water begins
Yeah, he just starts spraying water.
You got the first
on
half.
people.
Yeah,
oh, like watermelon.
yeah. He just starts spraying water all over everyone, and then, oh no, Shelby, his assistant, who was standing next to him but not doing anything,
Yes.
trips because there's a puddle of water around her, and then they do like a kind of weird
she has
like
to
car
be there
wash
in order
thing.
to trip so that it makes sense that they're mad at each other.
Right, and then basically Joel comes up and like I guess the
Right
talent
before
show's
the big
ruined.
track meet, dude.
Yeah, and then
her
Shelby
bonitis.
looks like Shelby looks very upset, and people are running, and then what's the name of the cheerleader mom?
Oh God,
Janine,
Stephanie or Janine?
No,
I don't know.
Jasmine, whatever the fuck.
Hot lady.
Janine.
Hot
Yeah,
lady.
hot secretary Jean mom lady, whatever the fuck her name is.
Hot, but in
Secretary
air
Jean Mom
quotes.
lady. I'm
Yeah.
in.
Like
Yeah.
she was nice looking, but it
No,
was
I mean,
just
not-
funny
not
that
say
she was
that
like
she
hottest
was,
girl
like,
in school,
not-
and
Yeah,
I'm like,
not
this
say
is a
hottest girl in
30-year-old
school.
woman.
Yeah. But anyway, she's basically like, I thought it was really cool when you sprayed water on
Yeah.
everyone. And then he's basically like, great, thanks.
She's
and
like,
then,
well, you're so talented.
you're so
Like this here
talented
talent
that you.
show.
And then Joel's like, how
You're
did
so
you even do
talented.
it? And then Ezra's like, Shelby won't even look at me again in a lunch scene that seems to be in the morning.
So we forgot that, like, at one point, for exposition purposes, Shelby just like invites Ezra to go on a run with her to his house.
Yes.
She's like, "You want to
Oh,
run with
yeah.
me?" And he's like, "In these clothes?" She's like, "Yeah." And then she's just running like a few yards ahead of him, like definitely still wobbly all over.
Chase me.
And
Come on.
and the way that Ezra's running with is like so just it's very Ryan from High School Musical.
If you ever seen
Yeah.
the opening to Bambi right after Bambi's born?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
but then
they're
they
like,
sit
let's
down.
hang out, and then Ezra says,
flirt.
and then Shelby's like, no, I'm hungry.
And he's
And he
like,
then-
pulls out
and
oranges.
He pulls out, he conjures up oranges and says, would you like one? And then she says, oh, great. And then I guess they eat it like it's dinner. Like after a run,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only
it's
thing
like,
you
oh, I'm
need is
so hungry.
and
It's like,
I'm
you
so
know,
hungry
fill
I
that.
could really eat an orange.
a fruit that's 70% water.
Anyway, this is very early on in the movie, but late enough that he has some ability to actually conjure
Yeah, and then
food.
she like turns to him and is like, "You're sweaty. I have such a crush on you." More or less.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then
More or less.
yeah,
In so many words.
yeah.
He goes home, and then it's midnight, and he goes to get a glass of milk and tries to conjure the glass of milk, but gets
There's
it
no more
everywhere.
milk. Also,
And then
they
it's
put
like,
the gallon.
he
Put the gallon back in the fridge. So there's an empty milk gallon in the fridge, and he pulls it out. And he's
God.
like, "God damn it!" And then he puts it back in the fridge. I'm like, "What is up with this family?"
yeah, what the hell?
Yeah,
But anyway,
he has his moment where he has to like come to grips with himself in the kitchen at midnight producing milk.
and again, nobody like comes down to see why Ezra's
yeah, he
yelling
basically
at
just
midnight.
screams "fuck" and goes to bed.
I know it's like, hey, it's 11:50 at night. What are you doing down there?
Yeah. Anyway, so
yeah, back at the
this
lunchroom.
next day he talks to Shelby, and Shelby's like, "Fuck you! You ruined my life by becoming cool." Which, yeah, I wish a world where the captain of the almost captain of the golf team, who does magic tricks,
Junior
Yeah.
vice president.
really
Coolest
is the
kid at
epitome of
school.
cool.
Yeah.
But anywho.
Oh God.
So alluring.
Anyway,
the mystery.
he
How does
stands
he
up
do
to
it?
Garrett finally because Garrett basically comes up to him and
It's like, haha, you peed yourself. And everybody's like, what? And he's like, because she had water on her.
and when you sprayed
Isn't
water
that
at her.
Got him.
And then Garrett's like, Ezra's like, Garrett, you need to chill out. And then Garrett's like, do you really want to do this? And then Ezra looks like he's gonna walk away. And then Garrett and cool Dylan, walk away. And then Ezra throws
Chill.
fruit salad at
Yummy.
Garrett, and then Garrett throws something back at him, and then it hits that one dude who keeps popping up and didn't know him, and then he's
Yeah.
like, wow, you're cool, these cookies are so good, and basically
Right.
says food fight, and then obligatory gigantic food fight where
Yeah.
everyone gets involved, and
And
it's
the
very
guy who
messy.
shouts "food fight" gets hit by the first piece of food and immediately nods out. He's like, "This is too much for me."
Yeah.
Goes
Well,
under the
and
table.
and this is where we get some of those really, really nice, those really candid shots
Good
of
centered,
this. Yeah,
lingering.
very
Beautiful shots, actually.
Yeah, really, really well shot images of this dude just eating food under a
Yeah.
table, like eating pudding,
Yeah.
and then chasing it with Sunny D, knock
Yeah.
off Sunny D,
Yeah.
and then
Solar B.
and then eating a Twinkie in like 2 bites,
Yeah.
and then eating another Twinkie in like 3 bites.
Yeah.
And yeah, it keeps coming back to this shot, which is the really interesting thing to me. Is
Right.
not that they just like have a couple really weird seconds of this. It's like they have a couple really weird seconds of this multiple times.
Well, they just want to show the reality of war. The casualties they get left
Speaking
behind.
of, then we have bully jock Garrett, who is walking and trips and falls
Yeah, there's
and
food all
is
over the
hurt.
place.
I guess almost dies or
Yeah.
something.
Fractures his orbital socket.
And then this is Ezra's defining moment of goodbye Wall Street. I guess I have to embrace my food powers. And then
Everyone knows you
takes
can't
a
make
Ziploc
food out of your
bag.
hands and go to Wall Street. Everyone knows.
He pulls out a Ziploc bag and then makes freezer
Frozen.
Yeah, frozen
Freezer carrots.
frozen vegetables, which he then uses to ice
The
Garrett.
very same vegetables that he had yelled at his grandmother and called her worthless over at
Yeah.
the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Really highlighting the growth
Granted,
that he
what a
has
horrible
overcome.
dish.
Oh,
She
yeah.
goes, I bought them fresh and cut these vegetables, chopped them and froze them, and I'm serving them to you frozen because I'm trying to be different and I'm not like other grandmas.
Yeah, so then the main cast at this point then just exits the cafeteria.
Well, no, to be fair, they throw Garrett into a trash can and then
Yeah.
wheel him away like they're saving
Yeah,
him.
stretcher
That's
style. But in the trash.
Yeah, so then they're all in the hallway, and then who else but the teacher, the only teacher in this entire
Oh,
school.
100%. That's why he's so
False,
mad all the
false, there's
time.
Don't move, teacher.
Oh, yeah. There's don't move
There's
sign.
a teacher who there was one other teacher in the school. He had a panic attack.
Yeah,
screamed,
there
"Don't
are-
move!" And
There are
then, and then
4
went on
staff
leave of
members
absence.
in this
Yeah,
school.
he had a
There's the
single
janitor.
Yeah, right?
There's mean teacher number 1. There's
Uh-huh.
don't move teacher, and then there's the principal, and that is the entire staff.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
No wonder that there's
Don't
such
move,
a small
teacher
student
is
body. It's so
just
easy
a
to
piece
move
of
up the
work.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
I think, like, who's the librarian? Do you think they like wear different
Oh, wait.
costumes?
Golf coach.
Golf
Oh
coach.
yeah, there is the
yeah.
golf coach.
I kind of imagine him to be more of like a volunteer
Periphery.
parent. You
No,
know?
no, he makes it clear that he knows about everything that went on in the talent show and the.
That's fair.
makes it very clear.
Anywho, then the teacher comes up. It's like, come with me, you two. Everybody else, go clean. So then Garrett
Heads will roll
and
for this.
Ezra get dragged to the principal's office. And for some reason, only Ezra's family's there. They didn't bother to call Garrett's
Well, it's
family.
clear
He has
Garrett
no
comes from
family.
a bad home, unfortunately.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, it
real
was because
reason.
there
it was
there
his
was
probation meeting.
it was supposed to be the end of his probation as part of him being vice president and not being in trouble for stuff earlier. And so his family was there for that, but it just so happened that the food fight happened.
But
Yep.
he shows his grandma with a subtle apple that no one notices. He like opens it and hides it from the others.
And his grandma, instead of being like, "Dang,
Yeah.
you really fucked up today,
But-
Ezra," she's like really proud of him.
Yeah, but to,
like he chose the
he
food
like shows
powers.
her the apple to show her that he like chose the gift.
The food powers, yeah.
Yeah, and then
And then tries to blackmail his way into a favorable probation hearing with said
Yeah.
apple.
so then pretty much he gives apples to the people, and then the staff is pretty much under the impression that Garrett started it all,
Yeah.
and they're totally ready to just be like, oh yeah, let Ezra off the hook. But then Ezra decides to tell the truth and say, I threw the first food in the food fight, and I don't want to be vice president anymore. And they're like, okay.
All right. Well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, it's fine that you started this food fight and cost us probably thousands of dollars, let alone the food waste.
Right.
They're just like, well, that's fair.
But
You
that
just
was
won't
fun
be-
of you.
Yeah.
We had
That
fun.
was so
with it.
quirky.
We'll just keep the janitor here for 12 hours today.
Oh, and then he goes back, and then Ezra goes back to the cafeteria to
No, the
help
kids
clean.
are all shoveling.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, yeah. And then he's like, no, the real hero here is the janitor, the one who looked really mad at me the entire movie and
Right.
hasn't said a single word.
And everybody cheers for the janitor.
And
And
then,
they're like,
appreciate
yeah.
and then it kind of does the like 3/4 aerial shot up.
Right.
Mhm.
The movie's kind of winding down, and then there's kind of the obligatory like post, like epilogue scenes where it's like,
It's the big track
oh
meet.
yeah, it's the big track meet,
Oh,
and,
right.
and she won because
Ooh, and he has that
because
sweaty palm Gatorade.
yeah,
Okay.
he
Yeah.
conjures up some blue raspberry Gatorade.
Yeah, laced with PEDs.
Yeah.
And helps her get across the finish line
And then
first.
he's like, "Wow, you totally beat her," and she's like, "Wow, I know someone in marketing. I'm 17, and know someone in marketing who can help you,
And he's
sell
like,
this thing for
"Hello,
lots of money."
Wall
And he's
Street."
like,
He said
"Oh
blue
shit!"
raspberry mint.
Mm.
And that's his contribution to the world of food science.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then they're like, I like you. You like me. And then they hold hands
Well,
as
no,
Fall Out Boy
hold
plays.
on. Before that happens, he says, right before they kiss, right before they say "I like you, you like me," he says, "You smell really bad."
Yeah.
And then they kiss.
Yeah.
Like literally, he says, "You reek,"
Yeah.
and then they
and he
kiss.
embraces her.
And then they walk off into the sunset, and they kind of both just wiggle into each other.
Yeah.
And then it seems like they kind of like
Start
Start
wrestling.
throwing-
they're like
down.
wrestling each
Yeah.
other in the grass.
Yeah.
In the field.
And then the movie ends.
Because we were joking about how she can't, like, her body's just constantly moving.
A loaded God complex, cock it and pull it.
Going down, and okay.
Yeah, I'm saying,
But-
like, guess what the lyrics to the end are or something like that. I'm going like, can you believe I found my way or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
That's my
are
guess.
we
That's
moving
what
on
I'm
to some
going.
reviews?
Yeah, well, yeah, so before we get to reviews, we just, man, what the fuck to even say?
Oh, it's a bad movie.
Yeah, that
It's
was a
bad
bad
in
movie.
every way. It's not
Yeah.
good in any way. I love it.
I think
What was up with the stupid chef? Like,
It's
so...
immortal.
Yeah, completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, so much of this movie was just like,
why
like
did you keep
unfinished
that
plots.
in there? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
why did you put that in there? And
You
then why
could have
did you
erased
keep
the
it?
whole movie.
Yeah,
That
and
movie
like,
could have been 10 minutes.
I honestly, what I was expecting from the little bit that of context that you gave us prior to this movie, I was expecting like something kind of like Kick-Ass, if you guys are familiar with that.
right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the like kind of comedy superhero thing.
Right.
I thought it was gonna be like, oh, it's like comedy superhero thing, but his power is really mundane. But
Right.
oh, isn't it funny how he's fighting crime with like food that apparates? And so I was
Yeah, well.
expecting that, and it was like, oh, it's just a dumb high schooler who
No.
has like dumb problems.
It's Max Keebler's big move with food.
Oh, I
with
really
food
recently
production.
watched that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, with Robe. Called this kid in my class Robe. Josh Peck. Kid who wear the bathrobe in Max Keeble's Big Move.
Man.
I see.
But yeah, I feel like that's really just about all I had to say about it. There's not a whole lot.
No, yeah, it's a standard ass like high school family movie, but like with food production superpowers for some
What-
goddamn reason.
I feel like what I love about it is that it feels like some sort of person or arguably like an AI
Being.
system
Yeah.
was forced to like watch a lot of movies in that genre and then make its own, and like so much of it almost makes sense, but then
Yeah.
it completely misses the mark.
That very
There's a
much
little
feels
too
like
much
what this
subplot.
is. Yeah.
There's a little too much writing. There's a few funny, like we were laughing, but I don't think we were laughing at like the right times.
Yeah.
Or we weren't laughing for the reasons that they wanted us to laugh.
I really think it was a fusion between someone who had written a lot of decom movies and someone who had just graduated art school, and it was just a really bad combo. I think that's what it was. Like, it was someone who had really, really into like some weird surreal shit, and someone who was really only knew how to write bad coming of age films.
I really do like the idea that this is like if you fed one of those like learning bots, like all the high school
Yeah.
movie like setting movies in the early 2000s, and it had to produce something with like 2008 technology. Like that's this is what it would produce.
So, several times throughout the movie, I feel like it was mentioned that, like, everybody who has the food power, they do something important with it.
Right.
Oh yeah,
And the grandmother was like...
it was made very
was-
clear.
Yeah, it was very clear that she had not done that. And so there was, like, several times where it was like, oh, like, what are you going to do? And there's, like, never any resolution to her
she
being...
dies.
like,
She dies meaningless. And
like, my guess is that it's like, oh, she finally put out that recipe book that she was
Right.
working on, and that is her thing. But, like, yeah, I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, because really, it's the whole thing. Like, it's a whole new culinary thing that each person who has the food power produces for the world. And Grandma's like, I'm working on mine. And
Don't you worry, I'll get it.
And she's still
they
working on
they
it.
take a weird random dig at Uruguay food.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-minute scene where they basically
You know
just,
how
like,
everybody
food from
hates
Uruguay
Uruguayan
was really
food?
good, but it's fucking terrible
Yeah, it
now, and
fell
this
off.
guy ruined it. 'cause
It
he
lost
used
the magic, and as we know today, never recovered. It's like, okay.
And he wrote every single recipe that comes from Uruguay. So there we go.
Yeah. That is weird. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? You gotta get to
So
Uruguay.
before we get into reviews, was it enjoyable? Not to say was it good, was it enjoyable?
Oh yeah. Oh my god, yeah. I love that movie.
I enjoyed the time that we spent watching
Yeah.
it.
I agree.
I would not watch that again.
Yeah.
Maybe. Actually, I probably would.
I think I'd watch it again to show to people who have not seen it
Exactly.
and have this exact conversation. And even still, that's kind of a hard sell for me.
It's weird because like I've never made a habit out of going to like search out and watch so ridiculous or bad it's good movie type things. So I don't know where this one would place on my hierarchy of like, oh, if I'm like, oh, you need to see this fucking ridiculous film I just witnessed. I think probably due to the fact that I grew up at the time and I'm familiar with like High School Musical and things like that, like. That probably hit me somewhere in like the old nostalgia brain where I'm like, oh, look at this fella wandering around doing this stuff. But this was just like the genre for the time. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed the experience we had with it. Yeah, it was nice. It was a fun time.
Oh yeah, Stacey, you did say you were one of the first.
I just want you to know that I'm currently on the Wikipedia list of Disney Channel original movies, and it's really interesting because the first one was in 1983, and then there's at most like 2 or 3 a year from like that. I think there's a few more in 1988, and a few more in 1990, but it's not super common until you hit 1990. Well, 1998 was when Halloween Town premiered, but then 1999 you got a bunch of fucking classics such as Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, The 13th Year, Smart House, Johnny Tsunami, and never mind, I don't know the rest of those. But
Nice.
a bunch.
Classic.
And then it just keeps going.
Xenon.
You got
real classic.
Stepsister from Planet Weird. You got
yeah.
Quince. You remember
Oh
that one?
yeah, Quince, where they
Mom's
have
got a
5
date
twins.
with a vampire.
Yeah, with that dude
yeah.
from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids
You got
as Van
Xenon, the
Helsing.
sequel.
Rick
The Luck of
Moranis?
the Irish, classic.
No, it's the dad from Lizzie McGuire. That's what it is.
Okay, I was about to say like
Halloween Town 2,
Rick
Calabar's
Moranis was
Revenge.
in
Van
this
Helsing.
film.
Yo, Cadet Kelly.
Yeah.
I remember
Get a
that when my
Clue.
sister watched.
Yeah,
it a
Get a
lot.
Clue is my
Gotta
fucking
kick it
jam. Okay, hold on. I will say,
The
Get a
Scream
Clue is a good
Team.
movie.
I'm not familiar with.
The
I have the
Even
DVD
Stevens
at my
movie,
mom's house.
Cheetah Girls. Come on.
All right, Cheetah Girls.
Eddie's
I don't like
Million
it, but
Dollar
I know it too
Cook-Off.
well.
Pixel
Is
Perfect.
Adventures of Food Boy a Disney Channel movie?
No,
I don't
it just
think
should
so.
have been.
No, it's an
Right.
independent movie, but it definitely is
Disney passed on it for no good reason because
I
none
feel
of these
like they
movies
had
are
a
Did
lot.
Disney
any
actually
better.
pass on it?
Yeah, true.
Oh,
Huh?
Hold on, I'm going on the Wikipedia page.
Are we ready for some reviews?
Yeah, let's do it, baby.
I will be reading a 5-star review from Cornelius Carter, and I will be reading it verbatim. The dude has the worst superpower yet. He might as well have the power of Dookie. Also, it's not like it's gonna make him any less powerful than he already is.
Yeah.
I think,
True.
no, I know Black Widow can beat him. Matter of fact, scratch that. Hawkeye can beat him.
Yeah, tell him.
Nah, let me stop playing. Hawkeye is pretty useless, and so is Black Widow. So if Black Widow and Hawkeye can be Avengers, I'm pretty sure this dude can make it. I just forgot Falcon can beat him. Oh my god! I just forgot Falcon can beat him. No, the Winter Soldier can beat him. This dude is literally more worthless than Vision. Thanos will turn him into a burger and eat him. This dude is worse than Eraser Man.
Oh my Christ.
I can just make superheroes, and it'll be better than this. Since he can summon food, he needs to summon a shoe. Matter of fact, let him summon a spatula since he knows how to cook. This is lazy way of just cooking faster. Like, for real, how is this power useful? What I'm finna do, throw a sandwich, and he just gets knocked out. What I'm finna do, throw a steak and hope for the dude to bleed. Like, for real, how is his superpower useful in a fight? What you finna summon some hot peppers so his mouth can be hot? It's still not gonna stop you from getting punched or shot. What you gonna do? Summon a pizza wall to avoid bullets that going faster than the average speed? There's another sentence. I gotta get through it. But for real though, entertaining movie, but just a horrible superpower. But hey, if Hawkeye can make it and a little girl can beat Galactus,
Yeah, tell him.
then he can beat anybody in the
Christ.
Avenger.
I'm glad we get to keep our streak of people just constantly bringing up Marvel in these things, too.
What you gonna do? Summon pizza wall and bullet
sweet
going faster
Christ.
than normal?
Holy
Who would like to go
Christ.
So was that your 5-star?
That was my 5-star.
I'm gonna read a 5-star, and then I'm gonna pass it to Diego to choose a 5-star of my screenshots.
Sure.
Okay. My favorite 5-star review that I found. So it's from September of 2017. 5-star review, no title. One sentence, just says, best thing since sliced bread.
Ooh,
A
fitting.
lot of sliced bread.
Yeah, that's good.
I liked
God
that
bless
one.
him.
Mick, why don't you go
Choose
while
your
I
5
peruse?
Sure. I'm going to go with Persephone Bell. Footboy is magnificent. It speaks to me. I've always felt like I had food coming out of my hands, and now I know it's normal. Ryan Evans does a great job in this role. We love to see gay actors get cast in important roles. They are people too. Maybe you could use a hat, though. That's all. Love you, Ryan.
For context, Ryan Evans is the name of the High School Musical character.
Yeah.
Lucas
Right.
Grabeel plays.
And their only critique is that, he could have used a hat in this film.
Yeah, because it was weird that Ryan wasn't wearing a hat.
Yeah, no, it's strange, right?
Because he normally
Can you
has, like,
imagine
a
though,
flared hat.
realistically, if he had a hat on the entire movie and we were like, that's pretty good.
He had a hat on for part of it, though, when he was
That's true.
doing the magic.
No, but that wasn't
That
like
was the best
Ryan
part.
hat.
No, it was not like the Ryan hat. It's true.
Okay. Oh, wait. I actually like this one. I got one. All right. This movie changed my life. It's made such a lasting impact on me. Before the adventures of Food Boy, I was a lonely soul wandering the globe searching for answers. No purpose. No life. Capital L. Now I'm not alone. Because I know wherever I go, Ezra will always be there to guide me with his pastrami hands. I cannot believe that I went so long without this in my life. Do yourself a favor. Save your marriage. Save a life. Watch The Adventures of Food Boy. Do we want to do one honorable mention?
Sure.
All right.
I also have an honorable mention in that case.
An excellent motion picture that brilliantly captures the metaphysical quintessence of consciousness while simultaneously encouraging discourse about the controversial aspects of cultural relativism. By I Am Potato Boy.
All right, so I guess 1-star reviews now, and
Sure.
I'll start again. So this is from IMDb, user T-13196.
Oh, I love that guy.
And these have titles. So the title of this review is Awful, spelled AWFLE.
Awfully.
This movie is so bad. It makes me never want to eat food again, only water.
But he sprays water too.
And then honorable mention from M. Ballard C. 32. guilty pleasure trash. This movie is horrendous in all the right ways, but man, did I love it. One poorly made flick that even contains a high school bully played by a 27-year-old actor. Genius. I mean, what a story. A dude that gets to shoot out of, gets shot. Sorry.
Missed that part.
A dude that gets to shoot food out of his body and becomes popular and then hates it. Wow. Captivatingly beautiful. Would you like to read your review, Stacy?
Yes. Is it okay if I do an honorable mention as well?
Might as well.
This one's from Aram B. The subject is "It sucks." It sucks. And then my honorable mention.
That was the review. Okay.
So the title was "It sucks," and then the review itself separately was "It sucks." And then another review. This was on a website I found that had a scale from 0 to 5 stars, and you could include halves.
Okay.
This one has 0 stars.
Ooh.
And it says, with 243 likes by May McNeil, go fuck yourself, food boy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, this one's 3 stars, but I think, it's probably a good solid take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's from Elias Swadner, and they have a 3-star review here, and it is a great bad movie, kinda? I found out about this movie from a conversation with a coworker, reminiscing on the ridiculous shows of our adolescence. I genuinely could not remember ever hearing about this movie and thought the premise was so absurd it could not have actually been made. Then I discovered the trailer and my suspicions were confirmed. This movie was the perfect storm of an overly simple but hilarious premise. Early 2000s nostalgia, relatively aimless plot and purpose, actually pretty solid production quality, fake acting vibes, and cheesy rock. I would give money to see how in the world the movie ever came into existence. It is so bad, yet good enough, so interesting with superpowers, and so weak in plot and mini-plots, just interesting enough to keep you watching, but so uneventful in their conclusion that you can't put it down. It's like an episode of Hoarders. You can't keep watching it, but you can't not watch it either. This movie is like icy hot for your emotions. I really don't know what I'm supposed to feel. It's so bad, it's good. Definitely a good, rock-solid, bad movie choice.
Well
Thank
said.
you, Elias.
All right, my 1-star review is from June 30th, 2009. Not too long after this came out.
Yeah, brilliant.
Review by Davey M.
Okay.
1 star. I was in the short this was based on and know lots of the guys involved.
Huh.
That's the review.
Okay.
I was hoping you'd pick that
Man,
one.
what a film.
That's a good one.
I guess there was a short it was based on.
Huh. Now we know.
I think I
novel.
do have the
Sandcastles?
tagline for this movie. It is another review. So this
Yeah, sure.
This is the epitome of a movie you'd find at an upper-class suburban home that was gifted by someone's grandmother to a prepubescent boy because it was in the bargain bin at Walmart.
Yep.
Utter garbage with the highest order that only serves cheap comedy.
Yep.
I think that'd be a good tagline for this movie.
Yeah,
I
100%.
agree.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm happy to leave it at that.
are we ready to do some ratings?
Hell yeah.
Mike, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, and I don't think I'll get much dissension on this opinion, but of course, I'm factoring in the fact that we all watched it together and had that experience with it. I'm going to have to give it
You fucking donut.
out of...
You fucking donkey!
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I
that's
stand by it.
a good point.
Yeah.
What do you
I'm
think,
gonna-
Stacy?
I'm gonna think about that a little bit, but I'm gonna have to disagree for now because I feel pretty strongly. Like that's a good point, but I
Right.
feel pretty strongly that this is gonna be getting a
Super duper weenie.
out of.
Super duper weenie wagon.
Yeah, I think that's...
Ridiculous. This is because you know the
Oh, man.
movie. That's what this is. I mean, you suggested it. I should have expected as much of a biased review from you, frankly.
Wow,
I stand by
I'm-
it. What's the?
Yeah, I
it's a
bet
review.
you
I wasn't
do.
It's supposed to
expecting
be
that.
biased.
Yeah, I was not
I
expecting...
said my
A
part.
review is supposed. It's
Yeah.
my opinion.
I wasn't expecting that to be so controversial. I agree with you, Stacy.
Thank you.
I really do. I do have to say, though, I think based solely on the fact that we have our boy Luke in there, this is going to get a solid out of for me. I do
That's
have to say
crazy.
that if it wasn't for Luke, it would probably be down at least a couple notches. But that's not what we're looking at here.
whatever.
I agree with the surrealist shots combined with the timeless cinematography and
Right.
writing of the caliber you can really only expect from a DCOM. I was pleasantly surprised that this indie film could really pull it off.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm gonna have to give it a solid
Pizza.
out of.
Not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered that, and I think
not a bad
you have a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that.
Fuck you, Mike.
Whatever.
All right, see you guys next
This is
time.
the last time we're taking movie suggestions. Food fight!